So I was born and raised in New Hampshire. My brother loved to read. My mom was an English teacher and she loved to read. She was always showing us Into Thin Air because that's what she was reading with her students all the time. My brother loved Tom Clancy. And me, I love Star Wars stories. Now, I grew up on Berenstain Bears, but then when I started reading on my own, it was all about Star Wars. My mom's dad, my Pepe, would bring us to the Star Wars movies, and I loved Star Wars. And so I read all the kids' Star Wars books, all the middle grade Star Wars books, all the Star Wars novels, Expanded Universe. I love those stories. But I didn't really write too much. I didn't write stories as a kid. I never really thought about being an author, and that was something that I aspired to. But I wrote poetry in high school, like every repressed high school teenager. I wrote poetry about how nobody understood me and about which girls that I had crushes on and things like that. And that was it. But I never really thought about like, oh, this is a career. It was just kind of an outlet for me. It was good. But I didn't read much in high school or college. I read a few key books here and there, but I didn't read a whole lot. And then when I got married, I moved down to South Carolina. I became a teacher. I started reading. I picked up The Hunger Games and I couldn't put it down. And then I just started reading all sorts of YA books. I love like Percy Jackson and Ranger's Apprentice and things like that. So I started to fall in love with these stories. And I always thought, man, it'd be so cool if I had my own stories, but I didn't. And about 5 years later, my wife was pregnant with our first child and we were going to visit some friends. And on the way back, I had a story idea. And I got home and I started writing it down in the form of poetry because it was a children's story. And that's going to be my first book, Sammy's Song. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I didn't really think that it would go anywhere because who am I to be writing a book? And it kind of sat on the shelf for almost 4 years. That story kind of sat there and I didn't really do a whole lot with it. But recently, I finished my master's degree, and I'm a high school teacher. That's what I love to do. I love to teach high school students. I love to inspire them. I want them to know that they can do more with their lives, that they can achieve more. And I said to myself, you've got students every year that say, hey, Mr. Diener, I'm going to write a book, and then they don't. And I got to think, why don't they? And then I thought, you had an idea. Why didn't you? And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this to inspire my students, to inspire maybe my kids someday. Somebody out there who says, hey, I want to do this, but who am I to be doing this? I want to break down that barrier for them so they know, hey, I can do it too. Look, I'm 31. I never thought that I was going to be an author. And now I know I am. Why? Because the people in my life need somebody to inspire them to get across that barrier to go, you know what, I'm actually going to do it this time. I used to talk a lot of ideas and things like that, and here I am, I'm going to do this. And so that is the real reason that I want to be an author. Since then, I've had ideas for other children's books, and so I'm pretty excited about some of those. And then also, now I'm starting to get ideas for non-children's books. So we'll see where that leads. I don't know where all that's going to lead, but I'm going to be an author. And I'm still planning on being a teacher because being a teacher is actually my ultimate passion. I love teaching high school students. But this is a cool way for me to tell my stories that I have and to inspire my students, my kids, the people around me in my life, that they can go achieve things that are bigger than they thought possible. So that's why I'm here, and I love it, and I'm excited for you to join me on my journey.